I actually call this brain vomit in the notes. This is the universe that I'm creating. This is my plan for the books that I'm going to write in this universe that I've been working on for decades now. It is in various stages of planning and thinking and writing, and I just wanted to get it out there and show people what I'm aiming for. Um, First, I want to show you like the legend, the here's the starting point, early part of a series, direct sequel. These different colors give you a clue as to where's a good place to start reading. Anthology, of course, is pretty much any time, and then some of the stuff is like planned for the future that I have no idea how that's going to land. And then the symbols on the right hand side, basically alpha, I have a concept, bravo, I know the story. And this is important because once I know the story, then I can sit down and start writing. That's the little pencil. And then, of course, once I'm done writing, and that includes, all of my editing passes, um, then it's ready for editing. And by ready for editing, I mean professional editing, a third party editor. And then, of course, the rest is all, part of the publishing process. Anyway, when I started this whole thing, I started with a timeline with 4,000 years of history that I had compiled based on story ideas I'd had for a good thirty years at least. And all of them fit somewhat onto this timeline with a little bit of fiddling. A couple of stories were kind of out there because of the technology differences. Early on, I had thought I might use gravity plating for the artificial gravity, but as I matured and learned more about the science, I decided that the whole idea of artificial gravity was just a non-starter for me. So if it's not rotating or accelerating, you're floating. Anyway, uh, I started out um, when I started my writing seriously. I started with Rise of the Automated Empire. Now, here's pretty much what it looked like when I started. Uh, Another note, Stolen Dreams was originally something called Baron of Mars. That got folded into the idea because I went from having a good concept for Baron of Mars. Once I knew the story, Stolen Dreams became a much better title. Anyway, this is what I had going into writing Final Assembly, and then it hit my professional editor, and Final Assembly got split in two. So here's how we have with Precipice in there. And note that Precipice is in yellow. It's an early part of the series. You can actually start there, and it's a decent story because it's the beginning of another major viewpoint character. And it works from that point of view. So you can if you want to, but Final Assembly is the best place to start. Anyway, um, while I was writing that, I knew what would happen after Rise of the Automated Empire. I knew I was going to write the book that eventually became Secret of the Yombax. In fact, I knew it so well. Final Assembly's final chapter is actually a stinger set on the world of the Yombax, with the two main characters 10 years previously sitting in the top of a tree. So I knew it was there. I knew it was coming. And so I knew that I would do that series, Secret of the Yombax, Mystery in the Muck, which I'm working on right now, and Fate of the Aiden. Notice they're all in green. I'm writing this one as more of a episodic, so that you can come in on any episode and get a good story. There's not so much, there's not as much drama that folds over from one book to the next, if you get my meaning. It is more like an episode of Star Trek where you can go in and there's the captain and there's Spock, and you don't need introductions. You've got them. While I was writing Final Assembly, very near the end of oh I almost forgot. There's a couple more stories on the Ombax that may or may not be coming. They are a planned future. I have some ideas. Anyway, while I was writing Final Assembly, at the very end of the novel, someone says, outside every airlock on Luna is a patch of red ice, speaking to the troubles that happened hundreds of years earlier as to how Luna went from being a corporate infested series of fiefdoms into one unified culture where people were actually, as they are in Final Assembly. And that phrase, that red ice idea stuck with me, so much so that eventually I sat down and wrote Murder on a Monochrome World, the Red Ice Book One. That book is, I have the cover for it, and it is scheduled for editing in July. So I intend to publish it this year. Uh, as a note, you'll notice Dark Side of the Month is also ready for editing. So I've got two books done in that series, and I actually, Dying in Earthlight, I have the concept. I don't know the story for Dying in Earthlight yet. I just love the phrase Dying in Earthlight. Uh, so as I'm presenting these ideas to my publisher, who does a more military sci-fi, he didn't like the idea of the episodic flagship of the Automated Empire, and Red Ice was, okay. So I thought, well, what if I did something a little bit more aggressive? And I had this character that showed up in Rise of the Automated Empire. She shows up in Precipice and then again in Broken Trust in the opposition, and she gets blamed for a murder. 2 murders, actually. So I thought, okay, let's catch up with her 5 years after the war. She's been in prison, and I thought let's have her doing missions that the government, the new government, can't officially condone, but they need done. And so there I have my Agents of the Automated Empire. The first trilogy of Agents of the Automated Empire is Murdering Mariko, Hunting Mariko, and Mariko Unleashed. It's a little bit more cyberpunk, a little bit more aggressive. I have recently begun gelling ideas for a trilogy after that, focusing on another agent other than Mariko, but nothing solid enough to put into this format yet. Anyway, there are other things out there that I have thought of and have ideas for. Seasons of Eden is another one. This is in the midst of the Empire. This is what I call the shift from the human-controlled automated empire to the fully automated empire. Seasons of Eden is basically the fall of the last true quote-unquote emperor of the empire and what rises after. And in the same time frame, I have the Frank War, Legend of Akashu, Battle for Akashu, and The Last Frank. This series is more focused on one of the older colony worlds. It is dealing with the idea of what it means to be human when you can basically print flesh and implant memories, and it's not just done once. For the main character is Frank, and there are many Franks, and Frank is basically he does the piping and the plumbing and the keeping the underworks of the cities running. And when an old Frank is retired, new Franks are printed out and put to work. And this is that story, and it looks more like this, split up, kind of interfacing with Seasons of Eden, because there are events that will affect each other. And beyond that is, of course, Fall of the Automated Empire, War of the Republic, Battle of Canyon, and the Genocide Mission. And all of those, I know the story. I just need to sit down and start writing them. And this is basically the end of what is being called the Automated Empire. This is where it shifts into something different, and there's a great diaspora that comes after that. And I have stories for way after that too, but I'm not gonna put that into this. Anyway, there's other things like the Blue Wave is a first contact story that I want to do. I love the idea of the aliens, and it's something I haven't seen before. So I definitely know what this story is, and I want to go for that. And then as I write these things, Tales of the Automated Empire is an anthology that I've been collecting things for. I've got one short story that was published in in an anthology years ago that is an Automated Empire story based on Earth during the events of Broken Trust. Speaking of Broken Trust, there's an entire plot line that got dropped from Broken Trust that I think I'll include in Tales of the Automated Empire, finish that off as a novella. So, this was my grand plan. And then the Crappy Fantasy series started. That one is not only done and written, but it is currently being edited for publication. And it has nothing to do with anything that I put together. So, will I write all of these books? Probably not. I'm thinking, I don't know. I'm aiming for it. This is where I'm heading. But as you can see, when I wrote Rise of the Automated Empire, I knew Flagship of the Automated Empire. I knew something was going on there, but I had no idea that Red Ice was going to come out. And I had no idea that Agents of the Automated Empire would be there. So by the time I got done with the first series, two more trilogies had popped up. And then the Ombak series, that could be something. So as I work my way through Seasons of Eden, that's there's an interesting point right there. Eden is the new capital world of the Automated Empire. Well, how did people move from Earth to there? There's a whole story that could be another series. I don't know. Anyway, thanks for listening. This has gone on way too long. Obviously, I will have to edit it.